Hey, Husker fans, welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. I'm Chris Peterson, and joining me as always is Danny Gillette. We're back here on our on Tuesday morning, and we're here for our recruiting watch. This is going to be a show that we're going to have every Tuesday. We're going to give you the latest updates on what's going on with Nebraska football recruiting. So today we're going to be focused on the upcoming decision of defensive tackle Valdin Sone, some other movement on the board, and some potential flip targets for Nebraska in the 2026 class. So before we get into it, please make sure that you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, get into the comments section. Let us know what you think about Valdin Sone and some of these other Nebraska football targets. So yeah, Danny, how are you doing on this Tuesday?
I'm doing well. A lot of news, media days coming up, and the season is fast approaching, which I can't believe. We were just talking off air about, the Minnesota and Maryland games in October, and then the stretch in November, and it's like, oh, that's far away. Well, I'm looking at the calendar, and it's really not that far. So,
Yeah, I think I saw last week there, or last Thursday was 7 weeks. So when it gets to be this Thursday, I believe will be 6 weeks from the Cincinnati game. So it's an exciting time to be a fan. And recruiting wise, things have been going really quickly. And it's I actually don't mind it because it feels like all of these decisions are getting made and guys are coming off the board. If you look at, I think Nebraska had 30 official visitors or something like that over the month of June, and all but one of those players has committed to a school. So that tells you the recruiting calendar is definitely accelerated in 2026, and it's going to probably continue to accelerate like that moving forward.
yeah, and I think you're going to see a lot more firm decisions earlier. I don't think you're going to see a ton of flips or things like that moving forward, but you never know with recruiting. But I think you're going to see a lot more decisions, even during the season as well.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see, once how teams reset their boards, how the results of the season will start happening. I mean, a lot can change between July and signing day in December. So to get to the biggest headlines of the past week, I guess, in recruiting, and I would say the biggest one came on Sunday as Valdin Sone, the 6'4", 320-pound defensive tackle, ranked in the top 200 of the 24/7 Sports Composite rankings. His top advisor posted on X, Brandon Collier, posted that Valdin Sone will be making a decision this week. Will be announcing a commitment. Georgia, Nebraska, Florida are in the mix. Auburn, kind of on the peripheral there, but they haven't been mentioned as much. So it does feel like a Georgia-Nebraska battle going into this. There haven't been any crystal balls yet. I know a lot of fans have heard Florida, heard Georgia. Do you think there's any chance that we hear Nebraska this week when we get the commitment announcement from Valdin Sone?
As much as I want to hear Nebraska, I don't think so. I think it is going to be Georgia, but I'll be happy to be wrong in this case.
So I agree. Unfortunately, if I had a crystal ball, the Husker Big Red crystal ball, I would probably have to put it on Georgia or Florida. But I still got my fingers crossed. You never know. Like you mentioned earlier, Nebraska has invested a lot in this recruitment. Terry Braden went to Sweden, tried to connect with his family. The Huskers have great facilities. I think they've got a pretty good relationship with Brandon Collier. So I wouldn't rule it out. But definitely, if I had to put in a prediction right now, I would go with Georgia. So we'll see where that kind of leads. There's a new target on the board. It's trying to think of his name, Viliami Moala. The 340-pounder who just decommitted from Oregon. So if Valdin Sone does commit to Georgia or Florida this week, I would expect Nebraska to turn their attention to him. Try to get him on campus for an official visit this fall and try to lock down his commitment. And he, another guy ranked in the top 500, 340 pounds. It would be good for Nebraska to get, that nose tackle type that could just plug up the middle. So I would love to see that commitment if Sone, goes the way we think it will.
Yeah, no, he's no consolation prize. He's a very good football player, very strong. Oregon just recruited high caliber talent on the defensive line, and he was the odd man out. So I'd be happy to bring him into the program.
All right, and we've got a few potential flip targets here for Nebraska. We mentioned a couple of them last week. Cameron Wilson, the 6'4", 6'5", 230-pound edge from Syracuse, had 18 sacks last season in high school football. So this dude is legit. There's still talk that he'll take a visit this fall. Tedarius Hughes, the Florida State commitment, seems like he's considering Nebraska and Colorado more than staying at Florida State. So I don't even know if Nebraska is really even like battling Florida State for him as much as they're battling Colorado.
Yeah.
So those two guys for sure. And then it was also reported by John Garcia Jr. of Rivals. I think it's a junior, but either John Garcia of Rivals reported that Jordan Campbell, the 4-star linebacker from Miami, who's visited Nebraska, I think a couple of times, I know at least once this spring. He's going to be visiting Nebraska and some other schools this fall. So that's 3 guys, I think 3 realistic, flip targets for Nebraska at 3 different positions. You have your traditional linebacker in Campbell, you have your edge in Cameron Wilson, and then a cornerback / safety in Tedarius Hughes. So there's a chance. I know that some people are, disappointed with this 2025 class, but there's a chance that they can really, add some momentum this fall.
I mean, and I think the 2026 class does have some good players in it. And all the names you mentioned, Florida guys. And I would love Campbell. I've loved Campbell throughout his recruitment, and he's such a dynamic player. And honestly, I could see him being a day one starter at the linebacker position if he came here.
Yeah, and getting those 3 guys would make this class just look so much different. Jordan Campbell, 6'2", 205 pounds, just a really dynamic athlete. I mean, a guy that I think would be a 3-down linebacker. We've talked about the need to add more pass rush talent, and, Cameron Wilson would certainly, fit that bill. And then Tedarius Hughes is a guy that I think would be, honestly, I think he'd be perfect in that nickel slot role that, Malcolm Hartzog is going to occupy this season. A guy that basically could play safety, can also play corner. I love those guys in the slot. A guy who can tackle, really can do it all. 6'1", 185 pounds, I believe. So a really rangy, impressive athlete. So yeah, I think even though the 2026 class hasn't gone maybe as well as fans have expected it to, if you get those 3 guys,
yeah,
you're looking at a class maybe of 15 with like 5 or 6 blue chip players. That's not that bad. That's not that bad. That's right where Nebraska needs to be, honestly.
And when you look at John Butler's track record of developing corners, Tedarius Hughes, I mean, Butler's done, corner development in the NFL, but Tedarius Hughes could definitely benefit from that. Campbell is just an absolute stud. And then when you look at just, again, Florida guys, not Nebraska guys necessarily, but they are sticking to their Florida ties. And I think Philip Simpson brings that to the table. So I'm going to be very interested to see how these commitments turn out and who they can land. Because I think Campbell is going to be a highly contested commitment. I think Hughes, like you said, might be a little bit more clear cut, but the one I'm watching for and the one I've liked since last year, and because I've talked about it, is Campbell.
Yeah, I like Campbell too, and even the defensive tackle we were talking about. I mean, there's potentially 4 guys there that still there's a realistic chance of adding, and those are all positions of need. They're all players ranked in the top 500, even if they missed on Valdin Sone. So there's still some very positive things I think for Nebraska fans to hang on to with recruiting. The 2027 class is going to be an even better one, I believe, but there's still a chance for this class to get that blue chip number closer to 50%, which I think is a good goal. And then you get some good developmental players at positions of need. I think there's a lot of long-term pieces in this class that are going to outplay their ranking. Guys like Rex Waterman, blanket Leon Noyle, the offensive lineman from New Orleans. I really like Hayden Ainsworth, like all those guys. So let's go ahead now to some other potential targets to know if, like if we said, if Valdin Sone comes off the board, or they happen to miss on even like a Cameron Wilson, and some of these other guys they end up missing on. But one guy that I think is interesting, he camped at Nebraska, got an offer. There hasn't been a ton of movement, but Gustav Heinrich is his name, and he's that pass rusher. I think he's from Sweden. Maybe I'd have to look up where he's from, but he's a really impressive kid. just looking up a little more information about him. But Georgia's been kind of mentioned as among the favorites here. He's a 3-star recruit, also from Sweden. So Nebraska's not really in the mix here, but I just wonder, like, if this thing with Georgia doesn't go the way that they want, or if Cameron Wilson's recruitment, maybe they could get a little bit more involved here. 6'4", 235 pounds, very raw, not a guy that you would expect to come in and play early, but is a guy that could come in and develop into an NFL draft pick, very realistically. So that's another name to know. And there's some other 2027 targets kind of coming on the board. So I don't know if you want to touch on that, Danny.
Well, I was wondering and what your thoughts were on Javian Brown, the wide receiver, because he's tweeted at Trey Taylor before, and then he also was throwing with Taylor at the Rivals camp in June. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are on Brown, potentially flipping to Nebraska.
And Steph, so where is he committed to right now?
Ohio State.
Okay, State. Okay, all right. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, I don't know. That would be very interesting. I mean, I think Trey Taylor's got Nebraska has their foot in the door with a lot of elite players. Brown, Ahmad Houston, the tight end, Mark Matthews, the left tackle. So yeah, I think that having a quarterback like that who can peer recruit is going to open up a lot of doors. I don't know. It's going to be difficult to flip anybody from Ohio State, especially wide receiver. But when you've got a quarterback like Trey Taylor, it opens up a lot of doors for you. So I think Nebraska fans should have much higher expectations for the 2027 class than 2026. I'll just say that.
I agree. And I view this class as more, get depth and get some building blocks, but I think 2027 is where the rest of the groundwork is going to be laid.
Yeah, for sure. It's if we can get to 8 or 9 wins, start getting more guys into the NFL, all those things can start to snowball. And then Khalil Terry, 4-star safety from the 2027 class, did visit over the weekend. There's been some others that have visited, as well, but he was there for a camp. Then he posted on social media that he was going to visit. So yeah, it's he was the former Michigan State commitment. So he's been, visiting quite a few different schools, but it seems like Nebraska definitely in the mix there. He's from California, 5'11", 180 pounds, ranked 145th overall. So you see a lot of these guys in Nebraska with some of these high-ranking 4-star guys, getting them on campus early. And that's how you want to do it. Get them on campus before their junior season, get them on campus in the spring, and then get them on campus for an official visit and close the deal. So, I mean, if you're talking about a kid from Florida or California, that's the path to a commitment. So they're laying the groundwork with a lot of these 2027 recruits right now. So not only is it, Trey Taylor and a program that's trending up, but they're also putting in the legwork to make sure that the 2027 class is a special one.
Absolutely. And when you look at the class itself, I mean, and the caliber of offers that are going out, as well as, the areas in which the offers are going to, like Chicago, for example, they're really starting to hone in on the Midwest and, focusing on premium talent. And I think if Nebraska, not we, because I don't play for the program, but if Nebraska makes that third-year jump that Matt Rhule is known for, then things will really take off.
Yeah, 100%. So we just everything is really dependent on how the season goes for Nebraska, and things can really take off. But, again, they had a 60% blue chip percentage in 2025. The blue chip percentage is trending up, in the 2026 class, and 2027. Hopefully it will take off. So we'll wrap it up there for our recruiting updates for today. We'll be back obviously next Tuesday. We'll have another recruiting watch. We'll have some more videos this week. Also check out, the Big Red Banter, Husker Big Red on Facebook for other Nebraska content. And as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.